Welcome to Trade to Black, everyone. Happy Thursday, last minute podcast. Why not? It's official. The Biden administration made it official here this afternoon that they will indeed reschedule cannabis, and all is well back in this industry again. So welcome in, and I appreciate everybody for logging on here at the last minute as we bring in some big time guests here this afternoon to talk about what we can expect next and just how big this announcement is. I know a lot of people were hoping these stocks are going to be moving a lot. They haven't a lot here this afternoon, but let's see what happens over these next couple of days. So on that, let's welcome in Dan Ahrens, Advisor Shares. Good to see you, sir, and a happy Thursday afternoon. I know I reached out to you about 20 minutes ago, but I appreciate you coming on here. But this is big news. Big news.
It's very big news. I'm a happy boy. I'm not taking any victory laps, and we'll talk about that because hey, this is just one more step. We're getting started. And one of my biggest points is the market's not really completely digesting this and digesting it correctly yet. There's still a lot to happen, a lot of news, but hey, we're up nicely. Not anything crazy, not anything meme stockish.
So let me ask, off that question, I'm not going to sit here and say, are you surprised that it hasn't moved more? Is this okay? Because, when we saw the news from 2 weeks ago, look, we all want these stocks to go up, but then we saw 24 hours later what happened. Is this okay with just conservative growth here this afternoon and how this could segue into, I know SAFE hasn't passed. We need obviously new money in, and until SAFE passes, that's the sentiment that takes place. But when this announcement does happen, we still hold our breath. And we hope that these stocks do move. But what's your take on how it's performed so far and what you think could happen over these next couple of days?
Well, I have to slap you on the wrist, Shad, because you said conservative growth. MSOs is up 5.9%. Our 2X fund, and I'm talking real time here, looking at my screens. MSOX is up 11.8%. Come on, people. I know everybody wants 200, 300%, and they're still going to say, oh, but you know how much I lost in 2022? No, it's up really nicely today. It's up really nicely, big volume. But, these announcements just came out.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of information flowing about what the information means. Yeah. I'm seeing stuff about a 60-day public comment period instead of a 90-day public comment period. That's great. But investors like, public comment period, what? This isn't done yet. It's not official yet. So it's pretty darn official because we had the president acknowledge it.
Yeah.
He said we're rescheduling, but do we have a rule in hand? No.
Yeah.
We did get a letter from the Attorney General that really helps defend the legal position of this rescheduling. That's fantastic. It really is. But we're still going to have to get what we've all been calling the Garland memo still. That's going to bring down a lot more rules about what Schedule 3 means to a medical cannabis dispensary.
Yeah,
it's not the same as an MD writing a prescription. How's adult use going to be addressed? There's still a lot of stuff to come down the pipe. I've always said it's going to be a long process, lots of ups and downs, but I'm most concerned with these legs up.
Yeah.
I think we have multiple legs up, volatility in between. But this is huge, huge, huge today. And I don't think the market for the OTC traded US cannabis stocks is really digesting it. We can also talk about the volume today in the Canadian LPs.
Yeah. What was it? 29 million. I think we last checked a couple of minutes ago with Canopy, and over 50 million for Tilray. So a lot of volume to say the least. But going back to what you said, the president of the United States came out with an announcement today and a video that basically says, we have rescheduled cannabis. I repeat, the president of the United States has come out and basically has said he's rescheduling cannabis. This is something that we've been 2-3 years ago. Can you imagine if we said, I can't wait for that day. Well, here is that day, right?
Yeah, it is momentous. We are at that day. But did he say we have rescheduled it or we are rescheduling it? You know, the guy also said inflation was at 9% when he took over.
Yeah.
So, you know, today is momentous. It's huge. I'm happy. I'm very positive it's going through.
Yeah.
There's turning back, but lots of steps in between. And the market, as I said, is not fully digesting this yet.
No, they're not. But let's see how this transpires over the next couple of hours and into tomorrow. One person I think I know will be happy as well. Let's welcome in the CEO of New Lake Capital, Anthony Cogniglio. Good day, sir, and happy Thursday. How are you?
Yeah, it is a happy Thursday indeed. Yeah, we're doing great.
Hi, Anthony. Nice to see you.
You guys know each other, yes?
Of course.
Dan, good to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Quick heads up, Mr. Anthony Varell, who's been hard at work over the last 2 weeks, has taken a little bit of a break, and rightfully so. The guy's taking a couple days off. But listen, as I said off the top, that you were hearing us in the background, Anthony, that big announcement from President Biden. Like, put this into perspective, knowing you've been in the space for how many years now, but I don't think that we can overlook that. The leader of the free world came out this afternoon and basically said that, quote, this is actually from Marijuana Moment. It said it became official when President Joe Biden announced earlier this afternoon that his administration is officially moving to reschedule cannabis under federal law, with Biden describing it as monumental. So your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I mean, Dan had a lot of good points. I'm going to try to not repeat any of it, but when I go back to when we started this company over 5 years ago, when anybody that's in the industry started their business or investors investing in the business, somewhere in that business plan or in that investment strategy was the concept that cannabis would be normalized and ultimately legalized over time. None of us really knew when that was going to be. And so when you put today's announcement in that context, you can't turn back from where we are today. You can't put this genie back in the bottle, so to speak. This is a huge milestone on that path to normalization and legalization. And Dan, I agree with you wholeheartedly. This isn't the destination. This is just one of those guideposts along the way. So it's terrific to see it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't want to speculate, but you almost wonder what happens next with safe banking. Like, as we said a couple of days ago, Dan, on Monday, and Anthony, I'd like to get your feedback. Rescheduling is out of these politicians' sandbox, but an announcement like this is going to grab their attention. Curious to see what kind of progress then can be made towards safer banking and how that begins to transpire.
Now, I'm going to jump in.
So I'll go first.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry, Anthony.
Go ahead, Anthony. Sorry.
No, go ahead. You go first.
Oh, I was just going to say, I'm in the camp of saying this makes it easier for those politicians to go ahead and move forward on safe banking and stop putting up the blockades. Now, I'll leave it over to you, Anthony, because there's another school of thought that means they can kick the can down the road further.
So I agree that I think it provides political cover. But I'm going to go back what I've been saying for a while. I think safe banking from a political perspective is more about Section 10 right now than anything else. I think if this becomes a bill about Section 10 and you can get the Republicans and the Democrats to agree on language for Section 10, then I think there'll be the political will to get that piece of legislation done. Absent that, and maybe I'm being overly negative, absent that, I'm not sure there's the political will, particularly in the House, to be seen as getting bipartisan banking bill done ahead of an election that's as important as this one coming up. So I think it stays political. You get the Republicans, their Section 10, and the Democrats, their Hope and Graham, and everyone will be able to go back to their constituents and say, we got what we wanted. Then it'll get done. Absent that, unfortunately, I don't see it.
We need new money, right, Dan?
We do need new money. And that's a big thing about today's nice move, but a little bit muted move. There's no new money coming in because the multi-state operators in the United States are still traded OTC. They're still blocked at B of A Merrill. They're still blocked at Morgan Stanley, UBS, and heck, even my custody bank, Bank of New York Mellon. They're not going to change something based on what the president says. They're going to change something based on actual codified rules in place. Now, do I think uplisting's coming? Yeah, I sure as hell do. I think it's coming. Can I give any kind of timeline on how soon? No, not a chance. It's dumb. There's too many steps.
So we keep hearing that rescheduling is not going to allow or fix the answer for uplisting. Do you guys believe that? Do you think, Anthony, that, now that's, with an announcement like today, we're not speculating anymore, like this was a major announcement from the president, that this could begin the process of uplisting over the next, say, 12 months?
My personal view is no, in short. And listen, we live with it. We are OTC listed. We run our company to qualify in all respects with New York and NASDAQ listing requirements, except we service the cannabis industry. It's the only factor that is prohibiting us from getting listed on New York or NASDAQ. And so when I look at this rescheduling, it's not going to change that fact. It's not going to make it legal. And can New York and NASDAQ change their mind and change their policy? For sure they can. But I think to Dan's point, they're going to need something to really rest their head on. They're going to need to be able to point to legislation or a safe harbor or a series of reforms that give them the strong confidence that they don't have any risk, whether it be from an aiding and abetting or an anti-money laundering issue, that they are taking no corporate risk by allowing companies like New Lake or others in the sector to list. So as Dan said, hard to know when they cross that line. I don't think rescheduling is it.
But do we at least, go ahead, Dan.
But I've heard it's coming. Now, here's something I can say is definite. NASDAQ and the New York Stock Exchange are talking to these companies. I know there's conversations, and something we've said before, and Anthony kind of just agreed with it. He knows the same thing because he talks to those exchanges, that they don't have a solid rule that says they can't list these companies. It is more of a risk thing, like Anthony just said, and it's risk, it's reputation, it's look and feel. So they can change their mind. I don't think it's coming anytime real soon, until something is solid, a rule is in place. We haven't yet seen this Garland memo that we keep talking about. We hope it's not a unicorn that could offer safe harbor, even without safe banking. We think we probably need safe banking, not for the uplisting, but for the custody issue. But we know the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ are talking to people like Curaleaf and others. And we need a lot more solid guidance, not a speech from the president, but rules in place so that the exchanges get that comfort level, because they don't have a rule, but they need a whole lot of risk management and comfort level.
Yeah, 100%. Anthony, look, this
Yeah,
announcement.
Can I just make a comment? I'm sorry, Shay. I don't want to jump in and make a comment because I agree with Dan, but I want to expand for people. These organizations, New York and NASDAQ, compete against each other. They compete against other global exchanges for business. They have what you would consider a salesperson that covers industries and covers particular names.
Yep.
And so it shouldn't be surprising that there are conversations happening as the folks that cover these industries see something changing in the industry and want to remain competitive with other exchanges in the dialogue for ultimately when it's going to happen. So just because an organization is talking to an exchange, I believe that that's absolutely happening. Back to Dan's point, when do you have enough concrete change in the legal construct that gives them the comfort that they're not putting their organizations at risk listing these organizations?
Yep. Well, these latest earnings reports are only going to help things, right? From an operational standpoint, the efficiencies is there. People are getting better at what they do. But as Charlie Bachtell told us yesterday, like, show me the money, right? So progress is being made, but these are incremental steps. I got to ask, as I said to Dan, Anthony, about new money entering in, Look, I'm sure there's conversations that are being had with certain companies regarding institutions that just want to listen right now. But an announcement like this, does this help? Like, not help, but like, does this change the conversation with potential new investors that you reach out to? Like, how would you best go about that, based off of what was announced today?
Yes. So it does change the dynamic because we've been talking, part of our whole thesis has been about assembling a quality portfolio of cash flows that have long duration that can be valued robustly over time as normalization occurs. And so we've been talking about that story to investors. And so when you get this momentous event, it's a validation that we're on the path for that thesis, or that thesis holds water. So certainly it allows us to continue those dialogues. Does it get a lot of investors off the sideline? I don't know that it gets a lot of investors to get off the sideline until you get a final rule. I think it gets people paying attention. I think it gets people doing the work. And the other thing, to put this into context, we all want institutions to participate to a greater extent. Set aside custody for a moment. If you think about how a large institution works, it's not just one person necessarily that says, oh, I want to go invest in X, Y, or Z company. They actually have people go do the analysis. They come up with a fundamental thesis on the investment strategy. They look at the liquidity of the stock that they're going into, which is a key issue for institutions coming into this sector, because we really haven't talked about liquidity today. We've talked about it in other forms, but liquidity is going to be a real issue. And I think we need to get ourselves in a positive feedback loop. I think we need to see some liquidity go up, get some of the smaller investors who are willing to start taking some positions, which only increases liquidity. And then you get in that positive feedback loop. It brings in the marginal investor, more liquidity, marginal investor. It's not going to happen overnight, in my opinion. I think we're going to go slow and to the right, but up and to the right decidedly.
All it takes is just one to jump in. But do you guys think that there will be 1, 2 big players that come in even before safe banking? Do you think anyone takes that chance? Dan, I'll ask you first. Go ahead.
One of the biggest things here is it's not about investors wanting to invest in these stocks. It's not even about retail investors. And retail investors know that many of them can buy Curaleaf and GTI and Verano, depending on who their broker is. Some can't. But institutional money, real, true institutional money, for the most part, cannot buy these stocks until the custody issue is solved. Now, I got some screens open here. Now, I want to warn everybody, I am not bad-mouthing Canadian LPs. I invest in Canadian LPs in our fund, YOLO. Look at it. But I'm saying that because Tilray has traded 57 million shares so far today.
Yeah.
Canopy has traded over 30 million shares today. Even Sundial has traded over 10 million shares today. Now I'm going to look at MSOs trading OTC in the US. Everybody's darling, our biggest holding, GTI, has traded less than 1 million shares today, 720,000 shares. Curaleaf has traded 1 million shares. Trulieve has traded 800,000 shares. Verano's only traded 450,000 shares. Guys, it is night and day difference, and it's not for wanting. It's exchange, listing, it's custody, and investors that are waiting on the sidelines till they physically are allowed to invest in these stocks. And there's a whole lot of people that just say, OTC, nope, not on my radar. Pushing it aside, not even considering it.
So even when we get a safe banking announcement, and let's say the bill passes, there's still time where these companies have to uplist on senior exchanges. So when that announcement happens to the point where you get an uplisting, how long of a time frame will that be? Do you guys have any insight on that?
Yeah, I don't really know. I think every one of those announcements is a nice opportunity for a pop, for a nice leg up.
Yep.
But until it's real, some of those investors that want to invest in this space cannot quite yet.
Yeah.
It's a mixed bag.
Yeah. Anthony, go ahead.
I'll add that, again, let's get into the fundamentals of how does this actually occur. So let's say there is a safe harbor for the exchanges in a safe banking bill that passes. Doesn't mean for Take New Lake, doesn't mean we automatically get uplisted. We have to apply for listing. There is a process in place. And so we run, you heard me say, we run our company to comply with all of those requirements. And every quarter, we're making sure we continue to comply with all of it. So when that opportunity occurs, we could fill out the application, get through their process, and get listed. Could take 2 weeks, could take a month, 2 to 4 weeks typically if you're ready to go. Now, not everybody is complying with all the listing standards. Mm-hmm. And so that's another thing for folks to pay attention to. If you think that you're going to get a safe harbor and that a stock that you're focused on, it can uplist because the exchanges are now open, I think it's important to ask the question, do you actually comply in all respects? And many companies do. I'm not trying to say some don't, but I think some actually don't comply.
Yep. Which I'm not surprised. It's cannabis, but look, when we put things into perspective, incremental steps, right? If you had to look at, yes, a lot of the sentiment that, that you guys are sharing with me right now, like, look, we need new money. We need institutionals to come in. We have to fix off these custodian issues. And at the same time too, that's basically what safe banking would provide in a lot of ways. So we still have to wait. But if you had to have one major takeaway on the bright side of this announcement today, like what comes to mind for you, Anthony?
I'll just go back to that path, right? Everyone's investment thesis and business thesis had some element of normalization and ultimately legalization. And this is a momentous step on that path. And you're not turning back from here. Yeah.
All promising, to say the least. Well, Mr. Coniglio, appreciate you coming in. I know you're busy here this afternoon, but thanks for providing a little bit of insight. And we'll make sure to catch up back with you next week. Sound good?
Great for dropping in. Take care, guys. All right.
Thanks, Anthony.
Bye.
Appreciate your time. Well, that was interesting. I do know somebody who's extremely happy here today. Your good friend Guap. Let's bring him in.
Happily married man, Guap. Look at that. It's the old Guapotron 3000 with the walk-up music. Love it.
Buddy. Oh, he is pumped, huh? What has the last 2 hours been like for you, sir?
I hope I blew up someone's speakers. I can't take any more of these tempered expectations.
How you feeling, brother? That was great news, right?
Feeling great. Did the camp saying that this was all coordinated at the DC level get a little louder and prouder today?
Yes, they did. That's for sure. Hey, one thing I wanted to bring up too, now that I have you on as well, Dan, we saw some big prints occur after market yesterday, included GTI, Verano, Trulieve, Cresco, and look at them, keepers. And there was a lot of people thinking it was you who was doing that. So now that I've got you on, maybe clear the air. Was it you?
No, it wasn't me. It wasn't MSOS. It wasn't the fund. But this is a good educational moment because I saw those prints and I had some of the portfolio companies and other people that I know pinging me, ask me what's going on. And nope, wasn't me. But what it smacks of, again, educational moment here for everybody.
Yeah.
Big number prints at or after the close. At the closing price. So there's no market impact there.
Yeah.
What it smacks to me of is somebody probably moving assets from one custody to another. I've done this before when I needed to move swap business from one counterparty to another. We do so without charging commission. We do it without any slippage, just using the closing price. So no, I had people pinging me about those big prints and I go, oh, that's interesting. I really want to know what firm to what firm it was because I don't know that. I saw the prints. But again, no market impact, no slippage, just a regular old price. So not moving prices around. So
just Pelosi Capital getting in early for today.
Yeah, it could be that.
Somebody knows somebody from Washington, right?
Yeah, if somebody knows who those big prints belong to, please speak up.
Yeah. Midnight reached out to Don Murphy. He is actually hiking in the mountains this afternoon, but he will be joining us tomorrow. We're actually going to do a live stream, 2 of them tomorrow. We're going to do 11 a.m. with Kim Rivers to talk, obviously, about their latest earnings, which was pretty much the highlights of the earnings season, plus the big announcement today with Kim. And then we're going to come back on at 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and we're going to sit down with Mr. Don Murphy and get his take on the big announcement here today, because I know a lot of you have been reaching out. We did reach out to Congresswoman Nancy Mace's team. She said that she's going to come on next week. We've also reached out to Dave Joyce, his team, Steve Daines. So hopefully we can get one of these people on at some point next week. But yeah, we definitely want to have the Washington angle, but most importantly, kind of give everyone, I guess, an idea as to what we can expect next. And speaking of next, go ahead, Guap, because I know we're now going to segue into the comment period, which who knows how long that's going to take, right?
I did put together 3 hot takes and an inspirational quote in the few minutes I had to prepare for this show.
Nice.
Okay.
Would
all right.
Say that I want Dan's thoughts. If we had proper plumbing in the space, MSOS is 42% when Joe Biden says we're rescheduling to Schedule 3 in a couple months.
Yeah.
Yeah. Proper plumbing equals volume equals percentage up on an announcement like this. So that's coming. If observation number 2, if GTI pays another $1 of 280, I'll be shocked. I think that day's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, some companies were waiting on the fence. Some were more aggressive with writing off the 280E. I think today makes that solid. I think, in my little opinion, every company should not be paying another penny of 280E. Hey, but a little bit of what Guap's alluding to here. Again, I mentioned the volume of Tilray and Canopy. Do you know what the biggest advantage that the Canadian LPs have over other cannabis companies? It's their NASDAQ and NYSE listing. And with that, they are not blocked by brokerage firms.
Yeah.
Most of the brokerage firms that have formal cannabis policies point to the exchange listings.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very familiar with Bank of New York Mellons and a few others. If you are listed on NASDAQ, NYSE, or Toronto Venture, you are not blocked for custody at many brokerage firms. I can't speak for every brokerage firm out there. If you're not on one of those exchanges, you're often blocked. So the biggest disadvantage that LPs have in Canada, they have to come out with quarterly earnings, and usually they suck. I mean, come on, how many misses? Now let's compare that to GTI. What does GTI do every quarter? They come out with an earnings beat.
Flow, baby.
300 million
free
plus.
cash flow. They got a solid balance sheet. They don't have outrageous executive comp. So come on. If you fix the plumbing, Guap.
Game recognizes game. It flows in.
I would like to think so. Yeah. Night and day.
Yeah.
Look at the quality of these financials on the U.S. side of the border. I mean, using GTI as the poster child.
That is the honest.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. So what happens to a couple now? So you bring all this stuff up, but then you look at Terracin and Cureleaf. These are companies listed on the TSX.
Great point.
Great.
Yeah. So Jason, Boris, Camilo, they now are not blocked at a number of brokerage firms.
Yeah.
Other brokerage firms they still are, but they are unblocked. They are having a lot more open-ended conversations with institutional investors. But the numbers, all you do is look at your screen. TSX ain't NASDAQ. It ain't the New York Stock Exchange.
I hear you.
Big difference there. Do I think it's great that Cureleaf and Terracin got listed on TSX, and it has some advantages. My fund can now own those stocks regularly in kind.
Right.
We own shares of those companies in kind, regular, plus swap, and that's due to the size issues. I'm not going to get more complicated than that. But yeah, night and day difference between NASDAQ and NYSE and TSX.
Stephen Plord writes, we're selling off hard. I didn't get a chance to see it as we do this podcast, but you guys seeing that? Or Dan, you seeing that with some of your monitors that are open?
I am numb and long. 5-10 years is my
MSOs as a whole, and this is just an example of the portfolio. It's still up 3.07%, and MSOX is up 5.83%.
Gotcha.
I'll be a smart ass and say this is why we can't have nice things. Yes, there's going to be people at 4 o'clock today saying I lost so much money. No, you're up. It's green. Was it really up? X percent at 1 p.m. If you sold at 1 p.m., that might have been your gain, but take it for what it is.
God bless the people that can day trade like Dan the chart man, but oh my God, the anxiety that's involved in that. It's just like, look, what's proper investing? If you believe in a company that'll have more value in 3 years from now, that is proper investing. And when you look at this space and an announcement like today, incremental steps, that's for sure. Like, Dan, you've been in this space.
One of the big things today is the market doesn't realize what we have in our hand.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
That's why it's muted. And people are saying, oh, it's not approved yet. We still have a comment period. That's all it is.
Keep your eyes peeled for SNDL and Tilray as well, trending on Wall Street bets. And they've had obviously a history there with that group.
Hey, Sundial in particular has some really nice inroads to the U.S.
Yeah.
You have to look under the hood and really understand what it is. But I like their inroads to the U.S. much better than Tilray's. Tilray owns a bunch of beer companies and some gummies. It's not the same as what Sundial has inroads access to.
And if Zach George were here, he would say it's SNDL, not Sundial. All good though. I do that so many times, but
I do both.
I know. Guap, anything you want to add, my friend? This is obviously you were overseas during your honeymoon when the
I was glad to miss the little AP leak about the DEA accepting Schedule 3 and the price action that followed way up, way down. But today's reaction muted for sure, except for me, who's everyone else that lived through that is a little less excited. I just feel like you want to talk historic. Biden initiating is the entire rescheduling process was big. HHS recommending Schedule 3 with 252 pages of research, big. The little leak, pretty minor in comparison to, I think, today. Well, I was just expecting a small little quiet filing on the registry. And instead we got a very big, coordinated, loud, we're doing this. And I think every hedge fund and institution has about a 60, 90-day window to get their stuff together if they want to front run each other as money comes flying through the dam.
Yeah.
That's my hype take. Everyone else can stay balanced, temper your expectations and all that. But this could get very interesting in the next 60 to 90 days.
You believe that, Dan?
I do believe that. Today's not it's not a destination. It's not an end. There's a whole lot more information to be digested and to get codified. The 60-day comment period, there might be some nasty stuff come out. I mean, Sam's not going to be quiet.
No.
And we might not see that secret Garland memo until we get to the end of this process.
Right.
Think how much times has changed, though. Remember some of those like press releases, the short report with Tilray, formerly when it was formerly Afria a couple years ago. Like, we are dealing with a lot of change now. And like you said, this is not a destination. I think, again, it's all about managing expectations, but another step in the right direction. This is all part of it. But Midnight, again, you wrote, we need Don Murphy to speak. Jungle Java, where you replied by saying exactly my thoughts. Again, a reminder, 2 live streams tomorrow, 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. I will be on with Kim Rivers, followed by 4 o'clock with Don Murphy. That is confirmed. So please make sure that you check in throughout the day tomorrow, because got some pretty big name people to provide some insight. And wow, I still can't get over that report that Trulieve reported and that Jeffco facility. Like, she is killing it. And I think the big thing too is just to get an update on how Measure 3 and just the overall I guess campaigning across the state is moving along. We were in Florida for the Benzinga conference last week, and some of her team was telling me the amount of appearances that Kim's been making on various television and radio stations. So she's definitely hard at work and doing her work. God bless her, because man, is she ever working. Yes, she will reap the rewards more so than any other person, but at the end of the day, she's putting the most risk on the table as well, right?
True. She's fighting a big fight.
I'm going to let you guys run because I got 20 minutes before the close. But again, I think appreciate everybody for logging on here today. TDR Trade of Black podcast. Leave some comments below. Let us know what your thoughts were on today's announcement. Anything you want me to ask Kim or Don tomorrow, leave it in the comment section below. And as well, make sure to subscribe to our Baked In newsletter. Again, Small Cap Sunday coming up this Sunday night. We got 4 companies we're looking at, why we're interested in them, and how it could benefit you. But again, this is not investment advice. Dan, Guap, enjoy the remainder of your afternoon. And Dan, I'll see you Monday. Guap, we'll see you at Mic Drop tomorrow morning, 11 a.m.
Talking THCA tomorrow.
All right.
It'll be an interesting episode of the Cannabinoid Investigation Unit.
All right. Good stuff. Gents, enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Schedule 3, you know
me.
Hey,
everyone. Thanks for watching our latest podcast. Lots of momentum building. You guys getting all excited? Leave comments below. Again, we want to take this viral. Smash that like button and make sure to click on that bell for all notifications as we start to bring on bigger and bigger guests. Don't forget to subscribe to our daily newsletter, the Baked In newsletter, by logging on to thedalesreport.com. And we want to take this viral, as I said, and make this community grow. So make sure to subscribe on that channel, because we wouldn't be here without you. Thanks again, everyone, for watching.